Right now, millions of Americans are living with a belief that feels safe, a belief that after decades of hard work, long shifts, sleepless nights, and years of paying into Social Security, the benefits they earned will always be there when they need them most. People trusted the system because they were told to trust it. They believed that if they worked hard, stayed honest, and paid their taxes, retirement would finally bring a little peace into their lives. But today, a painful truth is starting to come into focus, and it's something Congress does not want average Americans paying close attention to. Behind the speeches, behind the promises, and behind all the political noise, there are serious talks about benefit reductions that could change the lives of millions of families forever. Think about what that really means. Seniors who already struggle to afford groceries, medicine, rent, and utility bills could suddenly be forced to survive on even less money. Workers who spent their entire lives building this country are now being told the system they supported may not fully support them back. And the most heartbreaking part is that many people still have no idea this could happen. They wake up every morning believing everything is fine, while leaders in Washington continue delaying solutions year after year. Americans deserve honesty. They deserve leaders who fight for the people who built this nation with their sweat, sacrifice, and determination. This is not just about numbers on a government report. This is about parents, grandparents, widows, disabled workers, and everyday people who gave their best years believing they would be protected. The fear is real. The frustration is growing. And millions of Americans are finally starting to ask one powerful question. If the people paid into Social Security their whole lives, then why are they the ones being asked to suffer now? For years, Americans have been told that Social Security is secure, protected, and untouchable. Politicians stand in front of cameras making promises, shaking hands, and telling hardworking people there is nothing to worry about. But behind those speeches and headlines, another story is quietly unfolding, and it's a story that could impact millions of lives across this country. The truth is, there are discussions happening right now about reducing benefits, changing retirement rules, and making future payments smaller for the very people who spent their entire lives paying into the system. That truth is frightening because Social Security is not just extra money for most Americans, it is survival. It is the difference between eating a warm meal or skipping dinner. It is the difference between buying medication or cutting pills in half to make them last longer. It is the difference between dignity and desperation for millions of seniors who worked hard every single day believing their sacrifices would someday bring security. Imagine spending 40 or 50 years waking up before sunrise, working through sickness, raising families, paying taxes, and doing everything this country asked of you, only to hear that the benefits you earned may not fully be there when you need them most. That pain is real for so many Americans right now. People are scared, confused, and tired of hearing excuses while the cost of living keeps climbing higher every single year. Grocery prices rise, rent rises, healthcare rises, but many leaders still act like ordinary people can survive on less and less. Americans are not asking for luxury. They are asking for fairness. They are asking for the promise they were given to finally mean something. And as more people begin learning what is really happening behind closed doors, one thing is becoming very clear. The American people are waking up, and they are no longer willing to stay silent while their future hangs in the balance. There is a quiet fear spreading across America right now, and you can see it in the eyes of retirees, working families, disabled workers, and people getting closer to retirement age every single day. It's the fear of uncertainty, the fear that after a lifetime of hard work, sacrifice, and paying into Social Security, the benefits people counted on may slowly begin slipping away. Most Americans were raised to believe that if you worked honestly and gave your best to this country, you would at least have some stability later in life. That promise gave people hope during exhausting jobs, long nights, and difficult years. It gave people the strength to keep going even when life became hard. But now, millions are beginning to realize that the system they trusted may not protect them the way they expected. Congress continues talking, debating, and delaying while ordinary Americans are left wondering what their future will look like. Seniors are already struggling to survive in an economy where everything costs more than ever before. Food prices continue climbing, utility bills continue rising, healthcare costs keep hitting families harder every year. Yet somehow, the people who built this nation are being told they may need to accept less. That reality hurts because these are not lazy people asking for handouts. These are hardworking Americans who earned every single dollar through decades of labor and sacrifice. They worked in factories, schools, hospitals, construction sites, military bases, offices, and small businesses. They carried this country on their backs for generations. And now many of them feel forgotten by the very leaders who promised to protect them. But something powerful is starting to happen. Americans are beginning to ask questions. They are beginning to look beyond political talking points and empty promises. They are realizing that silence only helps the people who keep delaying real solutions. The people of this country deserve honesty, respect, and security after years of giving their time, energy, and lives to build a stronger America for future generations. Millions of Americans are feeling the pressure of rising costs every single day, but there is another problem growing quietly in the background that could shake the future of retirement for an entire generation. While families struggle to pay for food, rent, gas, and medicine, leaders in Washington continue arguing while one of the most important lifelines in America moves closer to serious benefit reductions. Most people do not even realize how real this situation has become. They still believe someone in Congress will step in at the last moment and fix everything before ordinary Americans are hurt. But year after year, the warnings keep growing louder, and the action never seems to come. That is what scares so many people. Americans work too hard to spend retirement living in fear. They spent decades waking up early, missing family time, working overtime, and pushing through stress because they believed Social Security would give them stability later in life. For many seniors, these monthly checks are not extra spending money. They are survival checks. They pay for groceries, prescriptions, electric bills, and basic dignity. Without them, millions would fall into poverty almost overnight. Imagine giving your entire life to building this country and then being told there may not be enough left for you in the end. That feeling of betrayal is growing stronger every day across America. People are tired of hearing speeches while their future becomes more uncertain. They are tired of politicians blaming each other instead of protecting the workers who paid into the system their entire lives. And perhaps the most emotional part of all is that younger generations are starting to lose faith too. Many workers now believe the system will never be there for them at all. That fear is creating frustration, division, and anger between generations when Americans should be standing together. This is not just about politics. This is about human lives, hardworking families, and the promise that people who dedicate their lives to this country deserve security and respect when they grow older. Americans are beginning to realize that if they stay silent, nothing will ever change. For millions of Americans, Social Security is more than just a government program. It represents security, hope, and the belief that years of hard work will someday lead to stability. Every paycheck people earned carried deductions that went into this system, and most workers never complained because they believed they were investing in their future. They trusted that when retirement finally arrived, the country they helped build would not abandon them. But today, that trust is being tested in a way many people never expected. Quiet conversations about benefit reductions are becoming louder, and ordinary Americans are starting to realize that the future they counted on may not be as secure as they were promised. That realization is painful because so many people are already struggling just to survive. Seniors are choosing between groceries and medicine. Retirees are stretching every dollar while prices continue climbing higher month after month. Families are watching loved ones work far beyond retirement age simply because they cannot afford to stop. And still, instead of real solutions, Americans continue hearing delay after delay from leaders who have known about these problems for years. That frustration is growing because people feel like they are carrying the burden while those in power continue playing political games. The workers of this country kept showing up every single day. They drove trucks, taught children, cared for patients, built roads, served in the military, and worked countless exhausting jobs to keep America moving forward. They did their part. They earned these benefits through sacrifice and determination. That is why the fear surrounding Social Security cuts feels so personal to millions of families right now. It feels like the promise made to hardworking Americans is slowly being broken. But across the country, people are beginning to wake up. They are starting to ask tougher questions and demand honest answers. They are realizing that protecting Social Security is not just about one generation. It is about protecting parents, grandparents, children, and the future of every hardworking American who believes their years of sacrifice should still matter in the end. Across America, there are millions of people lying awake at night, wondering what their future is going to look like. They worked hard their entire lives believing that Social Security would be there when they finally needed help the most. They trusted the promises made by leaders year after year. They believed that after decades of working, paying taxes, raising families, and contributing to this country, they would at least have the dignity of financial security during retirement. But now, fear and uncertainty are growing stronger because the truth many people are starting to discover is deeply troubling. There are serious concerns about future Social Security benefit reductions, and the people in power have known about these problems for a very long time. While ordinary Americans continue struggling with rising prices everywhere they turn, Congress keeps delaying real action. That delay has real consequences for real families. Seniors are watching the cost of food, rent, healthcare, and medicine climb higher every single month while many of their benefits fail to keep up. Some retirees are returning to work in their 70s simply to survive. Others are cutting back on meals, skipping prescriptions, and sacrificing basic needs after spending their whole lives doing everything this country asked them to do. That reality is heartbreaking because these are hardworking Americans who earned these benefits through years of sacrifice and dedication. They are not asking for special treatment. They are asking for fairness. They are asking for the promise they paid into for decades to still mean something. And perhaps what makes people the most emotional is the feeling that their voices are not being heard. Many Americans feel forgotten while political fights continue in Washington. But something powerful is beginning to happen across the country. More people are waking up to what is really happening behind the scenes. They are beginning to realize that silence only allows the problem to grow bigger. Workers, retirees, and families are starting to stand together because they understand this issue affects every generation. Social Security is not just about money, it is about dignity, respect, sacrifice, and the future millions of Americans believed they had earned through a lifetime of hard work. For decades, hardworking Americans believed in one simple promise. If you worked hard, paid into Social Security, followed the rules, and gave your best years to this country, you would have some safety and peace later in life. That belief gave millions of people strength during difficult times. It helped workers push through exhausting jobs, long hours, physical pain, and financial struggles because they trusted that one day their sacrifices would matter. But now, a growing number of Americans are starting to feel something they never expected to feel about Social Security: fear. Fear that the benefits they earned could be reduced while politicians continue delaying real solutions year after year. And for many families, that fear feels deeply personal. These checks are not luxury payments. They are survival for millions of seniors, disabled workers, widows, and retirees who rely on every single dollar to make it through the month. They help pay for groceries, medicine, rent, electricity, and basic dignity. Without them, countless Americans would face impossible choices every single day. Imagine spending 40 years working, sacrificing, and paying into the system only to hear that there may not be enough left when your time finally comes. That pain is becoming more real for families across the country. People are tired of hearing promises while their future becomes more uncertain. They are tired of watching leaders argue while ordinary Americans carry the stress and anxiety of not knowing what comes next. And perhaps the saddest part is that younger generations are now growing up believing Social Security may never exist for them at all. That loss of trust is dangerous because this program was built on the idea that Americans stand together and protect one another through every generation. The workers of this country built America with their sweat, sacrifice, and determination. They showed up every day, even when life was hard. They gave their energy, their time, and their health to keep this nation moving forward. Now, millions are asking a powerful question that grows louder every single day. If Americans kept their promise to this country, why does it feel like the country is no longer keeping its promise to them?